Hi, everyone. This is Dr. Mary Balliet here, and today our topic is hair, skin, and nails, the whole story. Because I think a lot of us have seen lots and lots of supplements that say hair, skin, and nails, but we're going to talk about what you actually really need. And so the other thing I want to do on each of these videos from now on is to introduce myself. So I am Dr. Mary Balliet. I have a master's in nutrition and a chiropractic degree from Northeast College of Health Sciences, where I was the former dean of the Masters of Science in Applied Clinical Nutrition, and I'm a professor emeritus. And I have just retired after 30 years of teaching biochem, physiology, and nutrition. And I've done a lot of scientific papers on nutrition research. And I am currently the co-founder and chief science officer of Potential Power Nutrition. So that is me there. And so what are we doing today? So I wanted to go over the biology of skin because I think we don't really understand skin. We think of it, oh, I look at it and it looks like this, but there's so much more involved. And so we're going to see there's an epidermis and a dermis and then another layer. And we're going to really talk about how important this layer right under the one that we can see called the dermis needs so much protein, has so many mitochondria that's going to help your skin age well. It's going to have an immune function. It's going to be the part that's going to make sure you don't have oxidative damage. And then we're going to look at our nails and see that your nails tell you lots and lots of things about your health. So there are three main layers to the skin. They are this outside that keeps us separate from the outside called the epidermis. And this is where you have your pigment. So the color of your skin is really here in the epidermis, and it is protecting you and has some immune functions. Underneath it, though, in this large dermal layer, are your nerve endings, your oil glands, your hair follicles, your sweat glands, but many, many immune cells are in this layer. And then finally, underneath that, we have some subcutaneous tissue. This is connective tissue. And that's because our epithelial tissue has to sit on connective tissue. And this is where the blood supply is. Now, the reason that's really interesting is because the blood is way down here. And so the top layer is not actually alive way up here. And that is why you flake and then you say, oh, I'm going to exfoliate so it'll look better, because all of this nutrition has to go all the way through. And so it's really important to have enough fat. So when people are like, oh, I don't need fat, you really don't want to get too thin where you don't have that really good connective tissue, don't have those big blood vessels, you don't have the right fat to really allow you to get that nutrition to that area. So we really want to look at that. And this is a layer that can go quite awry as people age. And now they don't have that elasticity and other things that they need for their skin. So when we look at this dermis, this big giant layer, before I look at these adipocytes, which are the fat cells, where we see those blood vessels, we want to look at this section over here, where we see those hair follicles, or we see these sebaceous glands that make the oil, but we also see that we have this fibroblasts. These fibroblasts are connective tissue and they're making the collagen, they're making the elastin. And the video is not up just yet, but it will be on osteoporosis. And what we always have to remember is it's not just about what we're putting in the matrix. For bone, we're putting calcium and phosphorus. But when we're looking at the dermis, the fibroblast is putting the collagen and the elastin. When people say, all I need is collagen, because like as if the collagen is going to go miraculously from your mouth to your dermis, that is not happening at all. What you're doing is you're digesting whatever protein, it's going in your blood, it's going to have this really healthy layer down here. Those amino acids are going to have to go to the fibroblast. They are the builder. They're going to make the collagen for you. They're going to make the elastin for you. They're going to support this hair follicle. They're going to support these sweat glands. And then the other thing that's also in this layer are these very important macrophage cells, these specialized immune cells that we're going to go into over here, where we see these Langerhans cells. these macrophages are ultimately going to move up and become these Langerhans cells that have a massive immune function, and we're going to talk about them in detail. We also here have lymphatics, and that's very important for us when we have nutrition coming into this layer. We want it not to swell and have a lot of inflammation. We want the lymphatic vessels to be like a shop vac and get rid of the extra fluid. And so if we do not exercise, if we do not really get the lymphatics sucking out that extra fluid, then we can get a lot of puffiness. And so we really want to make sure that that's working well, as so that we don't get, there's only what's called potential space. There's no actual space for fluid in here. So we don't want that. So what does the dermis need? Well, it's actually going to need to make collagen and elastin with those fibroblasts. And so what the most important thing is to have healthy collagen. And when we have age-related changes in the skin, it is because collagen fibers are not made well. So when we're talking about collagen and we're just eating collagen, that does not make us make collagen. So we have to have these amino acids that have to make the collagen. So when we are talking about why do I need elastin and keratin and collagen, one of the main ideas is to keep that dermis hydrated, because we know that having the right amount of protein, this is why bodybuilders, they like to have those big blood vessels. They want to pull that water in. They want to be a grape, not a raisin. We don't want our skin to raisin up. We want it to be plump. We want to have great water retention because we have great intracellular ions that's going to pull that water towards that, and we have enough protein to do that. It's going to protect us from ultraviolet light damage, and we're going to also really help what's called the skin microbiome. So we want to have the right, we have a lot of bacteria on our skin, but we want to have the right ones. We don't want to have wrong ones. What do we need? What amino acids do we need to make collagen? Well, we need the big ones. Collagen is every third amino acid is a glycine. And then we need proline, which gets hydroxylated, hydroxyproline, which needs vitamin C. Then we have lysine, and it actually becomes hydroxylysine, also needs vitamin C. And then we need branched chain amino acids as well as alanine. So what I want to point out here is that a lot of people do great on collagen peptides because they just don't eat enough protein. And so then they have the right amino acids, but they don't have everything they need. So I just wanted to point out, I put what amino acids are in the shake because I wanted to show that all those amino acids are actually in there. So having adequate protein actually will just give you those amino acids. It's not necessary to take collagen peptides. I'm not against collagen peptides. I'm just saying you just have to have enough good quality protein, and your body will break it down and the fibroblasts will remake it. When people were given food with adequate protein containing these amino acids, after 84 days, their skin got much better. But 84 days is almost 3 months. So we don't expect everyone's skin to be great right out of the gate. But in a couple of months, 3 months, we're going to really see a notable difference in their skin. And then because their skin is making their nails and making their hair, everything will get a lot better. And anecdotally, it is our number one most reported thing is that people's skin gets better when they're doing the shake. One of the papers that came out 2 years ago was about that the skin is the largest organ with the highest turnover rate in the human body, and therefore it needs a ton of mitochondria. If your heart and your nervous system have the most mitochondria per unit of tissue, it will never give that up, but your skin will give up its mitochondrial vitamins and minerals to go to your heart and your nervous system, and your skin will suffer. Your hair will fall out. Your skin will age. And that is because you do not have enough support for your mitochondria. This is the number one area in your body that shows your mitochondria are not happy and healthy is skin disorders. It is the way that mitochondrial dysfunction is found. There's a great rat study, but it's known in human as well. So we do know that the reason I love total metabolic support is because we're always rejuvenating the mitochondria. And because the skin is the last thing that will be fed in a way, then when my skin is better, it's a really good sign that my heart is great, my nervous system is great, my muscle is great, because the skin will give it up first before anything else. So here's lovely pictures of my favorite thing, the mitochondria. So what do the mitochondria need? They need B1, B2, B3 energy. They need there they are, 1, 2, 3 energy, pantothenic acid also in the Krebs cycle. And they need 6, 9, 12, the methylators. Notice here's biotin. It is not alone. We have to educate our patients that high dose biotin is not what it takes. The reason that biotin is important is you need biotin to make protein and to deal with your carbohydrates and to make good fats. So it's not like you don't need biotin, but you don't need it in over like much more than 100%. So this is the percent when you add everything, the cocoa and the peas and everything. I put in what are the percentage of all of these vitamins in there. We only add 100%, but when you look at everything, we have way more than that. And so it's all in there. You also need vitamin C to make collagen. So that's really important, even though I didn't write it there, it is there. And so there's the vitamin C to make collagen. But you also need, you really want some good quality vitamin D, bizarrely. But of the minerals, you need iron for the Krebs cycle, and we need iron for the electron transport chain. We need copper for the electron transport chain. We need magnesium to make ATP, and we need potassium to hold the water in those cells, especially the fibroblasts. And then we need antioxidants because the mitochondria, they burn things and they are on fire. And so we need antioxidants. And the two antioxidants that work the best together are the turmeric and the ginger. That is the literature. So I want to talk next about these really cool things called Langerhans cells. They have a very important immune system because they are trying to always be in homeostasis between being overly activated or immune tolerant. And so they are reacting to your external environment, to ultraviolet radiation. So we want to be able to go out in the sun so we make adequate vitamin D, but we don't want to burn. We're going to react to pathogens. We got something on our skin. We got exposed to some kind of bacteria or a virus. We're exposed to chemicals because we're not paying attention. Maybe we're cleaning the house and we're not wearing gloves. This is not a good thing. If you are going to use a lot of cleaning products, you really should put gloves on, because otherwise those chemicals are in your skin. It's going to really activate these Langerhans cells, and they can really start to get a reaction, and you can get a rash. Your nails can start to lose their ability to not be brittle and thin. And medicine can also impact this by doing drug-induced nutrient depletion. And we have to be cautious about what kind of cosmetics we use. And unfortunately, we have to be a bit cautious about going to the nail salon, because a lot of us love the nail salon. I didn't want to put a slide in and offend anybody, but we have to be cautious about how much we get on there, because if we don't allow our nails to breathe part of the time, then they're going to not do well either. So these Langerhans cells are actually right below what's called the epidermis. They are very impacted by anything that they perceive as a danger. And they can make a lot of things called inflammatory cytokines. And they have a lot of impact in this very complicated way on regulating your genes. Now, the interesting portion about this is way down here at the bottom are the healthy cells that are marching up to become ultimately the epidermis. But if I am getting too many danger signals, then I'm not going to be able to make healthy skin, because I'm going to get the wrong signal to that basal layer, and I don't want that. But this is why I can heal my skin over time, because if I have the right nutrients and I have the right nutrition that these cells need, now all of a sudden I can really impact my immune function, and I can have a lot of better skin over time. Now, the Langerhans cells are very sensitive to having adequate protein because they're macrophages, and macrophages are self-replicating, and they need the right carb to fiber ratio, because if we give macrophages too much sugar, they do not do their job. It's like feeding the barn cat. And we need to give it healthy fat so that it has a really good cell membrane, and we don't have too much fried fat that is not going to be healthy, and that's going to negatively impact us, and we don't want to do other things. So that's why I put all of those things in the shake as well. I put 24 grams of organic pea protein in there, great carb fiber ratio, and then put the phosphatidylcholine in there and the cocoa, really great fats. Now, what's happening here is that Langerhans cells can cause dysfunction. So what happens when they are measuring the environment, if they are measuring it well, then they're going to fight this group over here, viruses and bacteria and parasites. However, if they are in dysfunction, then they can have scarring. They can have a chronic wound that's not healing. They can get fungal infections like a tinea. They can have psoriasis or contact dermatitis or atopic dermatitis. And ultimately, with too much oxidative damage, it can lead to melanoma. So we don't want that. We really want all of these skin issues really are dysfunctions of the specific immune cells that are living in the dermis. For those of us who know a lot about digestion, we're really always interested in what's called gut-associated lymphatic tissue, because again, whether I have a respiratory problem or a GI problem or a skin problem, it really is these macrophages that just change their names when they're in the different areas of your body. And so in the skin, they happen to be named for the same person who named the Langerhans cells in the pancreas. So what did I look and find for specific things that can be really protective by really helping these immune cells? So one of the skin diseases is when you have an autoimmune function where these Langerhans cells are going to go up to the surface and start to eat the melanocytes. And that is called vitiligo. So vitiligo is I had melanocytes and they were making melanin, but now I destroy my melanocytes. This is totally different than what's called albinism, where I just don't have the enzyme to make melanin. This is now I don't have the melanocytes. I can't do it. And so I get these areas of unpigmented skin. And that is an issue, can come on from stress, but oxidative problems as well. And so now we want those Langerhans cells to be protected against that reactive oxygen species. And the literature on turmeric is excellent to help reduce vitiligo. Also, turmeric is very protective against all of the rashes and eczema and acne. Now, from a functional medicine point of view, when we're having a skin issue like acne or eczema or psoriasis, personally, I really think you need to look at some food allergies, because your skin is actually your largest excretory organ, more than your colon. So you want to fix digestion as well with skin issues. We want to not just calm down these white blood cells. These white blood cells are overreacting to the fact that we're going to put toxins out on the surface, and they are going to then irritate the dermis and the epidermis and really activate these. So we want to calm them down by having those antioxidants like the turmeric and the ginger, but we also want to make sure that we don't put something that we're allergic to on our skin, and that if we have an autoimmune disease like psoriasis, that we're looking at things that might also be damaging our gut. And the same thing with acne. We really want to start looking at what are we putting in our body that may be coming out of our skin that we actually have an intolerance to. And I think those things have to be dealt with as well. But definitely the turmeric's going to help. So certainly what I saw when I was teaching at the chiropractic college is here's these 20-year-olds, and what they're having is all of a sudden they're learning all of this material at school, or teenagers, and now I have to build this really giant internet in my brain, and I'm going to actually take all my good fat out of my skin, and now I'm going to have eczema, now I'm going to have acne. that's another problem. So remember, the skin's going to give up the nutrition that your nervous system needs, that your heart needs. And so that could be causing the eczema and the acne, as well as that you don't have good quality protein and good quality fats and good quality B vitamins. And so now the skin is giving up all its nutrition. I found this a really nice stock photo of all the nail changes, because I think it's so important in a functional medicine way to look at our nails, not have them painted, so we can really see what they're looking at, because nails are very well understood even in Western clinical medicine. We know that if your nails are quite brittle, the number one thing is actually a hypothyroid problem. And when we think about your thyroid, it's controlling your mitochondria, and therefore poor nutrition will really make a difference. I don't have adequate B vitamins. I don't have my good fats. We have a whole video about that. And I don't have good quality vitamin A, which is necessary, or vitamin C. Here's where they're saying, or a little bit of biotin, but it really is all of the stuff that we're saying. If the nails are pitted, even if I don't have psoriatic arthritis, even if I don't see the psoriasis, it is the early signs of that I probably have that, and I really want to start looking for that. If I have white lines that go across horizontally, not on all the nails, not just one. One, I hit it, but more than one. Zinc deficiency, number one reason. I could have poor blood sugar handling. I could be pre-diabetic or diabetic, and that's why the kidney is involved in that. On the vertical ridges, unfortunately, it's common with aging, but I find that it is patients who are not having adequate protein, fats, carbs, and B vitamins. So when they say common with aging, I think it's because a lot of times when patients are aging, they don't eat necessarily as well as when they were younger and they were taking better care of themselves. I'm talking more about older people who live alone. There would be like, oh, why should I bother cooking? And this is why I think they're seeing a lot of vertical ridges in their nails. It can also be iron deficiency anemia, although I would say with an iron deficiency anemia, not only are you going to have those vertical ridges, you're going to have a little bit of spooning, and that you want to have the blood work done by your doctor, or if you are the doctor on the call, then you can order that. Nails in general, I think you should really look at the thyroid always, because again, your nails are made in your skin. Your skin has lots of mitochondria. Mitochondria is controlled by the thyroid. If I have diabetes, what's going to happen is I'm going to get plaquing. I'm not going to get as good blood supply. Your nails are far away. Skin is far away. It's gonna, the epidermis is far away from the blood supply. It's going to run out of food. So it's going to have a lot of impact on there. And of course, unfortunately, you can get nail fungus. I would say that the majority of patients that I have treated for their hands having fungus, it's possible they contracted that at a nail salon, unfortunately, or they were digging in the dirt and they did not wear their gloves outside when they were gardening. So then that has to be treated by a medical doctor, because that's very hard to get rid of fungus. So you really want to get to the bottom of that and really do more than just taking care of the health. You're really going to, that's an infection, you have to get that taken care of. And when we look, this is not very well shown here. Truthfully, when this portion looks very, very pale, that's a sign that you could have anemia or some kind of other metabolic thing that requires some blood work. And again, if I have these very bizarre lines, red lines on there, I could have autoimmune diseases or other connective tissue disorders like Sjogren's. So I want to have that looked at. And unfortunately, you do not want to see black lines under the nails, other than it could be an injury. That really is a problem. You really want to check and make sure that they don't have a problem with their heart or they don't have skin cancer. This is the one that I think you're going to see the most in your office, these vertical lines that can happen with aging. According to the Cleveland Clinic, they're saying pretty much that's always a sign of a bit of hypothyroidism, which I find very interesting. And we have a whole video. So I put the link right here for the video on how do I know if it's my thyroid. And then the Cleveland Clinic, I put the hyperlink on there about all the health symptoms. I thought that they did a really nice job on the ridges on the nails because they say all of the things that it could be, that you could have very dry skin or eczema, but they really do go into thyroid disease. Then they tell you things that you want to be cautious about that you could have had. And I think that they're doing a really nice job on that. So I wanted to put that there so that we had that if you want to be sending this to a patient, and they can watch this then and really see that there's a lot of great evidence, and everyone should be looking routinely at their nails and making sure that they look nice and healthy. And so then the Mayo Clinic had a phenomenal little site on a breakdown of calories for having great hair. So you can click on that, and they had another really great things about what you can do and what you shouldn't have too much of. Like, you shouldn't have really high dose vitamins and minerals. We really don't want that. That is not helpful. And then you want to make sure that you have the right amount of protein that's going to lock in the moisture with healthy fats, not that you're putting yet more lotion or more stuff on it. And then they had the breakdown of what we're all saying, that you should have the right amount of protein, the right amount of healthy fats, and the right carbs. And so in general, for myself, what I say is, I find if you want to maintain your weight best, I actually kind of lean a little bit closer to 25% protein and then drop my carbs a little bit. So that's a really great range, but less than 45% for carbohydrates, you're going to have a lot of trouble with your being exhausted. People can get very carb phobic. It's not no carbohydrates. You have to have carbohydrates. You have to have good fats because you have to have energy to do all this work. And it just says really, I love this. This is from the Mayo Clinic, from lotions and moisturizers to conditioners and argan oil to nail growth polish and supplements. Money is better spent on your groceries and having a great product like we have, where we're having everything in this kind of ratio, where we're looking at that protein, the fat, and the carbs, having the right carb fiber ratio, and having only 100% of the vitamins and your minerals. And so they had a great thing on what do you need, and here's just really great foods. We've just talked about this so many times about having that adequate protein, having the good oils, having the color of the vegetables and fruits, so that I have the cruciferous, that I have the berries, that I have the nuts, that I have the ginger and the turmeric. This is directly from what's nutrition do I need for healthy hair. So I want to thank my studio audience. I'm going to remember today to stop the video and then answer questions from